Following on from our hip hinge series. Now we've been going through, and once again, check out the first parts because we're building up, getting progression through. We've started off body weight down, we've gone to a resistance band. We're now just going to show you how it transfers into potentially a barbell, kettlebell, dumbbell. There's lots of different movements, and actually when you start to think about when we use this hinge or when we're looking at keeping good embracement and form throughout that core, that trunk, that neutral spine, it might be that you're doing an RDL, it might be doing a deadlift. It can even be when you're squatting. Obviously you want to keep that nice trunk engagement, squatting down but breaking the hips and the knees. So we've got lots and lots of different movements, and you'll actually find when you start to think about lifting correctly and safely how important this hinge really is, okay? Getting nice and secure throughout, and how important it is to embrace and think about what you're doing rather than just jumping into movements with poor form. We've got a barbell here, and we're going to focus on an RDL more than anything, okay? So Romanian deadlift, and we're going to be getting similar to what you've seen in terms of the movements through the hip hinge with the band and different things that you have done. Now, when we're working with a bar, obviously we talked about how we're going to get our arms down, squeeze them back. You're not going to get a bar back here to engage the lats, but you can still create that tension. Obviously the bar's going to be there, and once again you can focus on not reaching your head up. This is one of the most common things I see with RDLs and deadlifts, is that people lift like this, and this is more so the common mistake. You do get people rounding, but if I'm really honest, when they get to a barbell, usually they don't approach that if they're that new to training, okay? So it's often people who are very, very new to training who don't have any sort of awareness around this area that start lifting heavier things. But those who are really well trained as such and have been training for a long period of time do make the common mistake of overarching in the other direction. That's quite a common thing. So what we want to be doing is now, to make sure that we're doing things efficiently, is actually focus on getting that neutral spine, that, you know, that flat back, but also getting the most we can from that posterior chain, those hamstrings and the glutes, without tiring out, breaking down and hurting our lower back. More through fatigue than necessarily lifting wrong with that chin up, but it is something that's not going to get the most proficient out of your training. So what we're going to do here is step to the bar, and Rob's going to be thinking about all of the cues, you know, about engaging the lats, not raising this chin up, not overextending or arching through that lower back, embracing through. Now, when we come to doing this, he obviously wants that bar a little bit tighter there, so it's almost over the lace line's quite a nice thing, so near the shins. He's gonna now retract in, get really tight. He's gonna draw up, let's say for that first lift. Now with this RDL now, he's gonna be doing that hinge as we've been doing before, keeping nice and strong throughout, so loading up the hamstrings and then drawing through. That's it, working all the way, sending his hips back. So once again, you might hear the hips back, chest up, but that actually can sometimes create that over-exaggeration, but he's keeping nice and strong throughout. You can really see his back working, but it's not creating too much tension that it's fatiguing, but he's actually getting that real drive from the hamstrings and the glutes as he stands up. If you relax that down there, Rob. Now, what we're going to show you as well is from here, is when it comes to things like a bent over row, obviously 50 kg is a heavy load. So when we're talking about this, it could be with a dumbbell, it could be anything, it could be single arm, but the form is key that we work with this. We're still keeping that strength, that core structure, and as he rows in now, he can pull it in. And as you can see, because he's got good shape here now, he can squeeze through the back because he's not rounding over, okay? He's not overextending, so he can't get any movement, but he can allow to drop down and retract through. Place that down again there, Rob, okay? Keeping nice form and strong, because if you're doing that in a bad position with a heavy load, you're probably not actually going to get a great deal out of what you're trying to achieve in the movement, okay, retracting through there. You'll end up finding you're rounding at the lower back, you're getting tired through the lower back, you start to use your biceps a lot more than actually being able to get that retraction and staying nice and strong throughout there. So when we're talking about the hip hinge, okay, it's very important because it transfers into lots and lots of different movements, whether you're in a conditioning class, whether you're doing barbell work, lifting, bodybuilding, all the different functionalities that people are lifting through. It's really key that we get that structure right first so that we can lift safely and get the most out of our movements.